Before we blast off, say hi in the comments. It may seem small, but it helps the algorithm beam this out to more sci-fi fans, and I seriously love seeing who's part of the crew. I was 6 months into my 12-month rotation as commander of Outpost 37 when we received the signal. The assignment was supposed to be boring, a career checkbox, nothing more. Monitor the edge of human space, report any unusual activity, and try not to go crazy from isolation. Standard procedure. Nobody tells you how vast emptiness can get inside your head after a while. The endless black punctuated by distant stars becomes a mirror reflecting your own insignificance. When you stare into space long enough, sometimes space stares back, and sometimes it screams. Commander Wilson, you need to hear this. Tech Spec Jones never called me by rank unless something was seriously wrong. I put down my coffee black because our synthesizer had been malfunctioning for weeks, and made my way to the comm station. Our outpost was small, just 12 personnel maintaining a listening post at the edge of the Orion Spur. We weren't armed beyond basic defense systems. We weren't built for intervention. We were eyes and ears only. What am I listening to, Jones? I asked, sliding into the station beside her. It started about 20 minutes ago, came in on a frequency we don't normally monitor. Pure accident. I caught it at all. I was recalibrating the array when she tapped a few commands, and suddenly the room filled with sound. Not words, not exactly music, but a pattern, rhythmic pulses that shifted and changed, overlapping in complex ways that made the hair on my arms stand up. Is that? I began. It's a distress signal, she confirmed. Not human, obviously, but universal patterns. Math doesn't lie. See these repeating prime sequences? Classic call for help. You're telling me we're picking up an alien SOS? More than that, Jones said, her eyes not leaving the visualization of the signal dancing across her screen. I've been analyzing the embedded data packets. There are coherent information streams buried in the carrier wave. Can we translate? Working on it, she said. But I don't think it was meant for us, Commander. The signal's not directed toward human space. We just happened to be in the path. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's environmental settings. In all of humanity's expansion across the stars, we'd found ruins and remnants, evidence of civilizations long dead. But nothing alive. Nothing talking. Until now. Keep working on it. I want to know what they're saying. 3 hours later, the senior staff gathered in the briefing room. Jones had dark circles under her eyes, but the excitement in them was unmistakable. The translation is rough, she began without preamble. Their language structures are nothing like ours, but the mathematical components give us enough context to make educated guesses. She projected a series of images onto the main screen, graphs, waveforms, and what looked like navigational coordinates. They call themselves, she made a sound like water hitting hot metal, best I can approximate in English. They're sending this signal because their colony is under attack. Some kind of natural disaster, I think. A stellar phenomenon is destabilizing their planet's core. A colony? Dr. Patel, our xenobiologist, leaned forward. So there are more of them elsewhere? Seems that way, Jones nodded. But that's the problem. The signal isn't directed at their homeworld. It's aimed at another colony, one that's closer to them than their homeworld is. How many? I asked quietly. Jones swallowed. Based on the data packets? The colony has approximately 2.3 million inhabitants. The room went silent. 2.3 million thinking beings. A civilization we'd never met, never knew existed until today, and they were dying within our communications range. What's the protocol here? Asked Taylor. My XO. Do we even have one for this scenario? I knew the answer before opening my tablet to check regulations. Standard operating procedure for first contact scenarios requires immediate reporting to Fleet Command and no intervention pending instructions. But sir, Jones protested, by the time Command authorizes action and sends ships. I know, I cut her off. The timetable in the distress signal? 48 Earth hours before catastrophic failure. Their moon is breaking apart, and the tidal forces are tearing their colony apart, piece by piece. And the nearest human vessel with significant intervention capability. Lieutenant Walker, our tactical officer, answered grimly. The UES Dauntless is running exercises in the Procyon system, at maximum burn. 72 hours, minimum. What about the other aliens, the ones who are supposed to receive this message? asked Patel. Jones shook her head. Based on the signal strength and trajectory, I don't think they'll receive it in time. There's significant stellar interference in that vector. I stood up and walked to the viewport. The eternal night of space looked different now. Somewhere out there, an alien civilization was facing extinction, and they had no idea that humans were listening, that we even existed. The protocol is clear, I said finally. We report this to command and await instructions. Sir, Jones began. I've filed the report, I continued, as if she hadn't spoken. Unfortunately, our comms array appears to be experiencing technical difficulties. It may be several days before our message reaches Fleet Command. The room was silent as my words sank in. Outpost 37 is equipped with 3 patrol shuttles, I said, turning back to face my crew. They're not warships. They're not designed for rescue operations, but each one can sustain 30 people in emergency conditions, and they carry fabrication equipment. You're talking about direct intervention, Taylor said. It wasn't a question. I'm talking about answering a call for help, I corrected. Humanity has spent centuries wondering if we're alone in the universe. Now we know we're not, and our first act upon hearing another voice in the darkness is... What? To listen to them die because we haven't been properly introduced? I looked at each of them in turn. I'm not ordering anyone to come with me. This isn't a military operation. It's a rescue mission, and it's strictly voluntary. If Fleet Command arrives, I'll take full responsibility. What exactly are you proposing, Commander? Walker asked. We can't save their planet, but maybe we can help evacuate some of them, stabilize their situation until their own people arrive. Our shuttles have basic translation software. We can figure out how to communicate. These are aliens, Sir, Patel reminded me. Unknown biology, unknown psychology. They might see our arrival as a threat. Then they can join the line of people waiting to kill me, I said with a grim smile. But I'd rather die trying to help than live with the knowledge that I sat here and listened to 2.3 million sentient beings die when I could have tried something. I didn't sleep that night. I recorded my personal log, explaining my decision and accepting all consequences. I wrote letters to my parents back on Earth, to my sister on Europa Station. Messages they might never receive if this went badly. The next morning, I wasn't surprised to find the entire crew assembled in the shuttle bay. Not just the senior staff, everyone. We can't all go, I said. Someone needs to maintain the outpost. With respect, sir, said Tech Spec Parker, normally the quietest member of our crew. We all signed up to represent humanity out here. Seems like now's our chance to do that properly. I looked at their faces, determined, scared, resolute. When humans first ventured into space, we carried with us the question, are we alone? Today, we had an answer, and maybe, just maybe, we were about to make friends in the vastness between stars. 3 shuttles, I said finally. Minimum crew on each. The rest stay here and keep working on translations. Coordinate. When we make contact, we'll need clear communication. I climbed aboard the lead shuttle, strapping myself into the pilot's seat. Through the view screen, I could see the infinite blackness waiting. Somewhere out there were beings who had never heard of Earth, never knew humans existed. Their signal wasn't meant for us, but humanity would answer anyway. As our small flotilla of patrol shuttles broke away from Outpost 37, accelerating toward coordinates where millions of alien lives hung in the balance, I couldn't help but smile. This wasn't in any protocol. This wasn't why we were stationed at the edge of human space. But maybe this was exactly why humanity had reached for the stars in the first place. To anyone listening, this is Commander James Wilson of Human Outpost 37. We heard your call. We're on our way. Hold on. The 16 hours in transit gave us too much time to think. Our shuttle's engines whined in protest as we pushed them beyond recommended parameters. Every hour we shaved off our journey meant thousands of lives potentially saved, or all our lives wasted, if this went sideways. 10 minutes to drop from FTL, announced Walker from the navigation console. I nodded, studying the tactical display for the 100th time. Outpost 37's patrol shuttles were designed for border monitoring and minor debris clearance, not combat, not rescue operations. Each carried a single-point defense laser that would barely scratch military-grade armor. Our shields could handle micrometeorites and solar radiation, not weapons fire. All personnel, secure for arrival, I ordered through the comms. "We don't know what we're jumping into." Taylor's voice came through from Shuttle 2. "Commander, I've been reviewing the distress signal again. Something's not adding up. The data suggested a natural disaster, stellar interference, their moon breaking apart." And I tightened my harness. The mathematical patterns embedded in the later portions of the signal, Dr. Patel thinks they might indicate evasive maneuvers. Flight paths. A cold weight settled in my stomach. "You're saying this isn't a natural disaster. I'm saying we should be prepared for anything." The shuttle shuddered as we prepared to drop back into normal space. The view screen showed nothing but the distorted starfield of FTL travel. 3, 2, 1. "Dropping now," Walker announced. Reality snapped back into focus with an almost audible crack. And then we saw it. "Holy shit," Jones whispered. A planet hung in space before us, its night side illuminated by fire. But it wasn't the planetary surface burning, it was the space around it. Ships, dozens, maybe hundreds of them, engaged in desperate combat. Some were massive, with elongated, almost organic-looking hulls that pulsed with internal light. These larger vessels were surrounded by clouds of smaller craft that moved with insect-like coordination, and they were winning. On the other side, a defensive formation was crumbling. These ships were different, crystalline structures that caught and refracted the light of nearby stars, connected by what looked like threads of pure energy. Beautiful, but failing. For every attacker they destroyed, 3 more took its place. "Those must be our distress callers," I said, pointing to the crystalline ships. "Tactical assessment?" Walker's voice was grim. "The crystalline fleet is outnumbered at least 5 to 1. They're forming a defensive perimeter around what appears to be civilian transports, those smaller clusters near the planet's moon. The attackers are systematically cutting off escape vectors. So much for our natural disaster theory," Taylor muttered from Shuttle 2. I made a decision. "This changes nothing. We still answer the call. Jones, broadcast on all frequencies using the mathematical patterns from the distress signal. Let them know we're here to help." "Broadcasting now," she confirmed. "Walker, tactical options." He grimaced. "Against ships of that size, we're gnats attacking elephants. Our only advantage is they don't know we exist. Then, let's use that. All shuttles, new formation. We're going in fast and erratic. Aim for the command ships, the largest ones directing the attack. We can't do significant damage, but we might be able to disrupt their coordination." "With all due respect, sir," Taylor's voice crackled through the comms, "that's suicide." "Probably," I agreed, "but 2.3 million lives are at stake. If we can create enough confusion to let some of those civilian transports escape." There was a pause. Then, "Orders received, Commander. Shuttle 2 ready." "Shuttle 3, acknowledged." Parker's voice was steady. "Set course for the largest enemy vessel. Maximum speed. Evasive pattern Delta. Fire everything we've got on approach." Our tiny formation accelerated toward the battle. As we drew closer, the scale became even more apparent. The smallest enemy ship was twice the size of our shuttle. The largest was the size of a small moon, its surface rippling with what looked like living tissue. "Receiving response," Jones reported suddenly. "It's from the crystalline fleet." Universal mathematical acknowledgement followed by confusion. "I think they're asking who we are." "Tell them we're friends," I said, "and to get ready to move their people out while the enemy is distracted." We were close enough now to see the devastation. The wreckage of crystalline ships littered space around the planet, each one representing untold lives lost. The enemy fleet moved with terrifying efficiency, methodically cutting off escape routes and eliminating defenders. "Weapons range in 30 seconds, Walker announced. "All shuttles, final approach. Remember, we aim to confuse, not conquer." As we closed in, I could sense the exact moment the enemy detected us. 3 of the smaller ships broke formation, turning toward our approach vector with fluid grace. "They see us," Taylor reported unnecessarily. "Good. Keep going. Full speed." The enemy ships adjusted course to intercept us. They were faster, more agile than I'd expected. In moments, they would be on us. "Now," I ordered, "break formation. Evasive pattern, Omega." Our 3 shuttles scattered in 3 different directions, just as energy pulses lanced through the space we'd occupied seconds before. The enemy ships hesitated, seemingly confused by our maneuver. It bought us precious seconds. All weapons, fire at will, target their sensor arrays. Our point defense lasers were laughably inadequate against military vessels, but we weren't trying to destroy them, just blind them. The beams struck home, creating small eruptions across the organic hulls. The enemy ships reeled, their formation momentarily broke. "It's working!" Parker shouted. There, an explosion rocked Shuttle 3 as enemy fire connected. Its engines flickered and died. "Parker, we're still here," came the strained reply. "Lost propulsion. Shields at 20%, but we've got their attention." That was an understatement. The larger enemy vessels were now turning toward us, momentarily distracted from their assault on the crystalline fleet, exactly as planned, though I hadn't expected it to happen quite so quickly. "Shuttle 2, cover Parker. I'm going for the command ship." I pushed our shuttle into a spiraling approach toward the largest enemy vessel. Its surface rippled as we approached, defensive systems coming online. Our sensors couldn't make sense of their technology. It seemed to blend mechanical and biological components in ways human science had never conceived. Walker fired our lasers continuously, targeting what appeared to be external sensor pods. Some hit, creating momentary disruptions in the enemy's cohesion. But it wasn't enough. They were adapting, learning our pattern. "Jones, any communication from the crystalline fleet?" "They're moving," she shouted, pointing to the tactical display. "The civilian transports are making a break for it while the enemy is focused on us." At least something was going right. I executed another evasive maneuver as enemy fire bracketed our shuttle, the shields flaring dangerously. "Shields at 40%, Walker reported. "We can't take many more hits." On the tactical display, I watched as Shuttle 2 darted between 3 enemy vessels, drawing their fire while the damaged Shuttle 3 limped away. Taylor was buying them time, but at a terrible cost. His shuttle's shield indicator was flashing critical. "Commander," Jones said suddenly, "I'm detecting a new signal from the crystalline ships. They're asking us why we're helping them." I smiled grimly. "Tell them that's what neighbors do." A massive energy surge from the command ship interrupted any response. Our shuttle rocked violently as systems overloaded. Direct hit, shields failing. "We've lost." Walker's console exploded in a shower of sparks, throwing him backward. I lunged for the controls, trying to stabilize our trajectory, but it was too late. We were tumbling, powerless, directly toward the massive enemy vessel. "Emergency power to forward shields," I ordered, though I knew it wouldn't be enough. Through the view screen, I watched as the enemy fleet reformed, having dealt with our irritating intervention. They were turning back toward the fleeing civilian transports. Our sacrifice had bought minutes, not salvation. "We failed," Jones whispered beside me. I was about to agree when the space around us lit up like a new sun being born. The enemy command ship shuddered as something struck it from behind, something massive and powerful. Then another hit, and another. Through our failing sensors, I detected new arrivals' ships moving with precision and purpose, their design unmistakably human. "The Dauntless," I breathed. "They got our message." The UES Dauntless led a battle group of 5 heavy cruisers and their support craft, not a huge force by military standards, but compared to our 3 shuttles, they were gods of war, and they had arrived with guns blazing. "All stations, this is Captain Hernandez of the UES Dauntless," a new voice announced over all frequencies. "Outpost 37 shuttles, hold position for emergency evacuation. We'll handle this from here." The tactical situation transformed in seconds. The enemy fleet, caught by surprise, struggled to reorient itself against this new threat. The human ships moved with practiced efficiency, their coordinated fire tearing through the organic hulls of the enemy vessels. Through our damaged view screen, I watched as the crystalline ships rallied, their formation shifting to support the human attack. 2 entirely different species, never before in contact, instinctively finding ways to fight together. "Jones," I said as emergency lighting bathed the shuttle's interior in red, "if you can still tell Captain Hernandez that the crystalline ships are friendly. The civilian transports are the priority." She nodded, working the damaged comms system. As consciousness began to fade, our life support was failing faster than I'd realized. I had one last thought. The signal wasn't meant for us. But sometimes the universe works in strange ways. Sometimes Being in the wrong place at the right time makes all the difference. The last thing I saw before blackness claimed me was the enemy command ship breaking apart under combined human and crystalline fire, and the civilian transports accelerating to safety. We had answered the call, and we weren't alone anymore. I woke up in the Dauntless's medical bay with a splitting headache and the vague sense that I'd done something either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. The dividing line between those two concepts is often just the outcome. Commander Wilson, a medtech, appeared at my bedside. Captain Hernandez requests your presence on the bridge when you're cleared by medical. My crew? I asked, voice raspy. All alive. Lieutenant Walker suffered burns and Tech Spec Parker has a concussion. But everyone made it. Relief washed over me like a physical force. I'd led 12 people into a suicide mission and somehow gotten them all out alive. That alone felt like a miracle. The crystalline ships? The civilians? That's part of what the captain wants to discuss, she said, checking my vitals one last time. You've been out for 16 hours. A lot has happened. Captain Hernandez was younger than I expected for someone commanding a battle group. Her dark hair was cropped close to her skull, and she had the kind of eyes that missed nothing. Commander Wilson, she greeted me as I entered the bridge. I'm trying to decide whether to court-martial you or recommend you for the Medal of Valor. Whichever you choose, Captain, I stand by my decision. She studied me for a moment, then nodded slightly. Fleet Command received your report despite your technical difficulties. They dispatched us immediately at emergency speed. We nearly burned out our drive cores getting here. Thank you for coming, I said simply. We weren't the only ones, she gestured toward the view screen. Space around the battered planet was now filled with ships. Human vessels, yes, I counted at least 20, but also dozens of the crystalline ships, larger and more intricate than those we'd first encountered, and there were others, designs I'd never seen before, with configurations that defied human engineering principles. The cavalry arrived, Hernandez explained, not just ours. After the battle, the crystalline beings, they call themselves the Luminari, sent out wide-spectrum broadcasts about what happened here, how 3 tiny human ships intervened against impossible odds to save their people. My mouth went dry. First contact situations aren't supposed to go like this. No, they're not, she agreed with a wry smile. Speaking of which, you've been invited aboard their flagship. Their leader specifically requested you. Me? Why? Apparently, saving 2.3 million of their people earns you a conversation. Her expression turned serious. This is unprecedented, Commander. We've made contact with 6 new species in the past 12 hours, and you're at the center of it. Tread carefully. The Luminari shuttle was unlike anything I'd ever seen, a construct of crystal and light that somehow held atmosphere. It docked with the Dauntless through an adapter hastily fabricated by engineering, no airlock, no physical connection, just a corridor of pure energy that I was expected to walk through. Are you sure this is safe? I asked the waiting Luminari representative. The being's form was vaguely humanoid but composed entirely of crystalline structures that shifted and rearranged constantly. When it spoke, its voice resonated through the crystal itself, translated by the software Jones had developed. Your safety is guaranteed, it assured me. You have already risked more than this for my people. Taking a deep breath, I stepped into the energy corridor. It felt like walking through warm water, if water could support your weight perfectly. The journey took seconds, and then I was aboard the Luminari flagship. The interior defied human architectural concepts. Spaces flowed into one another without clear boundaries. Light moved through crystal pathways like blood through veins, and everywhere, Luminari moved with perfect coordination, their crystalline bodies catching and refracting light in complex patterns. I was led to what I assumed was their equivalent of a command center. A larger Luminari awaited me there, its crystalline structure more complex, with deeper hues that shifted between blue and violet. Commander James Wilson, the translator rendered its resonant tones. I am Sirixia, High Harmonist of the 7th Resonance. You have done my people a service beyond measure. I inclined my head. We answered a call for help. Any human would have done the same. Would they? There was something like amusement in its tone. Our own kind did not. I blinked in surprise. I don't understand. Syrixia's crystalline form shifted, creating a display of light that formed images, maps of star systems, movement of fleets. The signal you intercepted was meant for our sister colony in the Eteran system. They received it. They understood it. The harmonist's tone grew somber. They chose not to respond. Why? The question escaped before I could stop it. Resource allocation, Sirixia replied simply. Our governing consensus determined that the ships required to save our colony would leave their own defenses too weak. The mathematics was clear. Sacrificed 2.3 million to preserve 4.7 million. That's... I searched for words that weren't offensive. Cold? Logical? Perhaps. It is our way. The needs of the greater harmony sometimes require dissonant notes to be silenced. Syrixia's form shifted again. But then humans arrived, a species unknown to us, and rejected that calculus. 3 small ships against a battle fleet. Because the mathematics of compassion operates differently. I didn't know how to respond to that. Fortunately, Sirixia continued, there is something else you should know about those who attacked us, something that even my people did not realize until after the battle. The light display changed, showing detailed scans of the enemy vessels, the organic-looking ships that had nearly destroyed the colony. They are not a separate species, Sirixia said. They are us. What? From a future that will never exist now. A version of our civilization that evolved differently, one that embraced organic components, that rejected crystal resonance as their primary form. I shook my head, trying to process this. You're saying they're time travelers? Not exactly, dimensional variants. They came through a rupture in space-time caused by experimental technology at our colony. We were attempting to create new forms of FTL communication. Instead, we opened a door to a parallel timeline where our evolution took a different path. And they attacked immediately? Why? Because in their reality, our crystalline form eventually developed technology that threatened their existence. They sought to eliminate us before we could become a threat. Syrixia's tone grew heavier. They were preventing a war by starting one. The implications were staggering. Not just first contact with an alien species, but with multiple species, multiple realities. The rupture is sealed now, Sirixia continued. Your Captain Hernandez's weapons technicians helped us target the exact frequencies needed. They cannot return. But the knowledge of what happened here, of what humans did, is spreading across all nearby sectors of space. 5 years later, I stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, watching ships arrive for the first Galactic Concord summit. The massive structure hung in orbit around a neutron star that served as a navigational beacon for 17 different species. Nervous about your speech, Admiral Wilson? Dr. Jones asked, joining me at the viewport. She'd traded her Outpost 37 uniform for the formal attire of Earth's diplomatic corps years ago. Terrified, I admitted. 5 years ago, I was a nobody commanding a listening post at the edge of nowhere. Now I'm supposed to address representatives from 17 civilizations. 18. She corrected. The Varelli delegation arrived an hour ago. I shook my head in wonder. When we intercepted that signal, we thought we'd found the first evidence of intelligent alien life. Turns out we were just late to the party. A party no one invited us to, Jones reminded me, until you crashed it by committing multiple violations of First Contact Protocol. Best career move I ever made. We watched in silence as a luminary diplomatic vessel docked, its crystalline structure gleaming against the backdrop of stars. Next to it, an organic-looking ship from the Mistani Collective, one of the species we'd met during the aftermath of what was now called the Resonance Incident. They still don't entirely understand us, you know, Jones said thoughtfully. The Luminari, the Mispravani. All of them. They had centuries of established diplomatic protocols, trade relationships, non-interference agreements. Then humans show up and throw themselves into a fight that wasn't theirs. Because it was the right thing to do. That's exactly what confuses them. She smiled. The Luminari High Harmonists' annual report still describes humans as consistently irrational in statistically predictable ways. I'll take that as a compliment. Over the past 5 years, humanity had gained access to technologies beyond our wildest dreams. Interstellar civilization had reorganized itself with Earth at the table, all because 3 patrol shuttles couldn't ignore a distress call. It's time, Jones said, checking her watch. They're waiting for you. As we walked toward the Grand Assembly Hall, I thought about the speech I was about to give, about the journey from Outpost 37 to this moment, about how answering a signal not meant for us had changed everything. Inside the hall, representatives from 18 species rose as I approached the podium. Some were vaguely humanoid, others utterly alien in form. All were watching, waiting. 5 years ago, I began, humanity asked itself a simple question when faced with a desperate plea for help. Even if it wasn't our fight, even if the odds were impossible, even if protocol demanded otherwise, could we live with ourselves if we did nothing? I looked around the room, at the faces and forms of beings from across the galaxy. That question is our gift to this Concord. Not our technology, not our resources, but our stubborn insistence that compassion isn't subject to calculation. In a universe of cold equations, humanity's greatest contribution may be our glorious, irrational refusal to accept math as the final answer. Across the assembly hall, 17 alien species contemplated this strange, paradoxical wisdom from the newcomers who had rewritten the rules of interstellar relations with a single act of cosmic foolishness. Or perhaps the most profound wisdom of all. The stars had always been filled with life. They had always been filled with intelligence. What they had been waiting for, without knowing it, was hard.